In this video, I'm going to be talking about WordPress hosting. This is my best WordPress hosting guide for 2018-2019. I've tested out a load of different WordPress hosting packages and I think I found the best. So let's get started. Hello, it's Alex here from WP Eagle. Hope you're all well. Thanks for watching. Now, before we get started, I'd just like to say if you're new here, welcome. I'd love to have you as a member of the WP Eagle family. To join us, simply click on the subscribe button. You'll find it down below and click the bell to be notified when I upload new videos, which tends to be every single week. So let's get on to the WordPress hosting. I've been running some hosting tests over the last 30 days or so from a number of different companies and a number of different setups. I've collected lots of data and I've done lots of comparison tables and all that kind of stuff. And you'll find all that information over at wpeagle.com. You'll find a link in the description that you can click and it will take you straight there. Yeah, and on that article, you'll find all of the results. You'll find links to all of the test sites so that you can take a look for yourself, how well they load and how well they work. And yeah, basically everything that I talk about in this video, you will find over there and you can use that article as a reference point. So this video is mainly about shared WordPress hosting, which is the kind of normal, usual type of hosting that you get. But I also wanted to compare the shared hosting with the other services that are available. So I've tested out the managed WordPress hosting service from WP Engine. And I've also tested out a couple of VPS setups. That stands for Virtual Private Server, which is, yeah, a bit different to shared hosting, but in theory gives much better performance. So you'll find that stuff towards the end of the video. And again, I've included all the info on that within the article, which is linked to in the description. Speaking of links, you'll also find links to all of the hosting providers featured in this video in the description. Now they are affiliate links, so if you use them, I will earn a commission. I'd like to say thank you very much. I managed to secure a few discounts with some of the companies, so yeah, use those links and you will get a discount. And I think on a couple of them, I've even got some promo codes as well. So yeah, you'll find them below and yeah, feel free to use them. Now, I have had to spend quite a bit of money to get all the hosting stuff set up. So if you enjoyed this video and you found it useful, I would really appreciate if you use those links below. It's not going to cost you any more. And in fact, as I said, you're probably going to get a saving and it will help, you know, fund all the hosting that I'm paying for right now because I signed up for like 12 months with loads of companies. So yeah, really appreciate if you use those links. Right, let's get on with this. First thing I'm going to talk about is exactly how I tested the different companies, and then we'll get on to the winners and losers. Let's go. So to test the different hosting, I basically went up and I set up a account with the different companies. I went for the entry-level standard hosting. I didn't go for any WordPress specific hosting or anything like that. Just the basic one site, simple, vanilla hosting. Signed up with all the different companies. And then I took a copy of the site that I use in a number of my videos. If you're a regular, you'll have seen them. The site is bowwowtech.co.uk, which is one of my Amazon affiliate websites. And by the way, I've got a tutorial on how you can build a site exactly like that on the channel if you're interested. I chose this site because it's quite resource intensive. It's got quite a lot of content on it. It uses WooCommerce. It uses the WooZone plugin, which I know a lot of you guys are running, and a whole lot of other stuff is going on that site. So rather than just, you know, install a vanilla install of WordPress and test that out, I thought I'd use a real world site, a site similar to a number of sites that you guys are running. And I thought that would give us a better idea in terms of which hosting is the best. So when I was looking at each of the companies, I was looking at 4 key areas. I was looking at the performance, which is obviously very important. That's how fast your site's going to load. I was looking at the technical support or the customer service that they offer. So, you know, how helpful are they when things go wrong or if you've got a question. Third thing I was checking was the number of features that you got for your money. And that included things like the amount of bandwidth, the amount of storage you got, whether you got an SSL certificate, all that kind of stuff. And then the final thing was whether they offered good value for money. And I kind of summed that up by taking everything into account, performance, support and features, and then looking at how much the service cost. So yeah, I judged each company on those 4 areas. Now, in order to test the performance, I installed a plugin. It's called the Hosting Performance testing plugin or something. I can't remember the exact name of it. I'll put a link to it in the description. And basically that gives you an idea of how fast the site is loading, the server response time, and the level of technology that the server is running. Gives you an indication of, you know, how up to date everything is. As well as running that tool, I put each site through the Google PageSpeed Insights tool, which actually changed while I was doing this test, which is a bit of a pain. So if the screen that I show you looks a little different to the PageSpeed screen that you see when you do a test, it's because Google updated it right when I was making this video. Bit of a pain, never mind. Now the third way that I tested performance was that I put each site into a browser tab within Google Chrome, refreshed them all at exactly the same time, recorded my screen while I did this, and then played it back to see which ones actually loaded fastest. And I ran this a few times to get a good idea. Now when it came to support, I basically got in touch with all of the companies, asked them a technical type question, either via their live chat system or via the ticketing system, depending on what they offered. And I then measured how quickly they responded, whether the response was helpful, and yeah, just generally how good they were at giving me support. Now, in terms of features, you'll find detailed comparison tables around the different features offered by the companies in this video, again, over at that article on wpeagle.com, link in the description. So that's how I tested out all the different hosting companies. Let's take a look at the results. So for each award, I've chosen 2 companies. I've chosen a winner and a runner-up. And the first award is for the best overall hosting company. So this is when everything is considered: performance, support, features, and value for money. Which one is the best? Which one would I choose if I were to choose some hosting for my WordPress website? And if I was going to, the company would be SiteGround. They are my #1 choice for the best overall hosting company. When everything is considered, they deliver fantastic performance. They're great value for money because they're not the most expensive company out there, not the cheapest either. But as I say, for what you get for your money, they provide fantastic value, and the technical support was prompt and it was helpful, and it basically answered my question. So with all that considered, SiteGround are certainly my #1 recommendation when it comes to WordPress hosting. Runner-up in the Best Overall WordPress Hosting Company Award is A2 Hosting. Now, A2 Hosting delivered some fantastic performance results. I found their customer support to be really good, but they just missed out to SiteGround based on their price. They're slightly more expensive than SiteGround, and in some performance tests, they weren't quite as fast. So still an excellent hosting company, and if you were to choose A2 Hosting, you'd be fine. The next award is for the best performance WordPress hosting. So this is where I'm just purely looking at the speed results and choosing a company based on that. So the winner for the best performance WordPress hosting is SiteGround again. They outperformed all of the other shared hosting companies. Again, you can find all the results over on wpeagle.com if you want to compare and contrast the different load times or page speed scores. Fantastic load speeds and fantastic page speed scores, and just, you know, the site was quick. Whenever I refreshed a page or was navigating through pages, site loaded really quickly, and it was noticeably different compared to some of the other packages. So if you just want some pure speed, then SiteGround are for you. The runner-up in this category for the best performance WordPress hosting is A2 Hosting. This video is getting a little bit repetitive, isn't it? Don't worry, there are some other companies that I'm going to talk about in a minute. But yeah, again, when it came down to performance and just looking at performance alone, A2 Hosting, they were only a fraction behind SiteGround, if I'm honest. In fact, sometimes when I was doing the browser reload tests, the A2 site would actually load slightly quicker than the SiteGround one. So again, if you're looking for performance, then A2 Hosting is a great choice. Now, as I said, towards the end of this video, I'm going to be talking about the VPS setup and WP Engine. But I just want to quickly say now that the speed from SiteGround and from A2 Hosting was comparable to a VPS or a virtual private server, and it was way faster than WP Engine, which surprised me because WP Engine kind of market themselves as a super fast, super WordPress setup. But yeah, these guys were just, leaving WP Engine in the dust. So much faster. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. But yeah, do check out the end of this video for more info about WP Engine and about the VPS server. This award is all around the best value, so that's what you get for your money, because the price between companies does vary quite considerably. And the winner in this category is Fast Comet. Now, Fast Comet, the reason why they get this award is they've got a really low price point. Just because they're a little bit cheaper does not mean that they compromise on performance or features or anything like that. In fact, the performance was still really good. I mean, it wasn't as fast as SiteGround or A2 Hosting, but perfectly acceptable, and faster than a number of the other companies that charge a lot more. The thing that really did it for me in terms of value is that with Fast Comment, they provide a free domain name, so that can save you a bit of money. So with every hosting package, you can register a .net or .com, whatever you like, and get yourself a domain name. And they don't compromise on any of the other features either. So if you're on a bit of a budget, but you still want a really good hosting company that delivers some good performance and some good features, and you get a free domain name, then Fast Comment are highly recommended. And the runner-up in this category is SiteGround again. Yeah, SiteGround have done it. They are the runner-up in the Best Value WordPress Hosting Award. And the reason for that is that they're a great price. They're not the most expensive company that I used. They're not the cheapest either. But for that money, you get fantastic performance, you get great support, and you get loads of good features. So if you've got a little of extra cash and you're not on a complete budget and you can afford to spend a bit more, then yes, SiteGround would be my recommendation for you. So the final award is for the best support from a WordPress hosting company. And I tested this, as I said, by sending messages and seeing how well they responded, how quickly they responded, all that kind of stuff. And the winner is WP Engine, which I know is not one of the shared companies, but I wanted to give them a special mention when it comes to support because I've used them for quite a while now. I've had a number of sites with them. And they are really helpful. They offer a live chat system, which is pretty much instantaneous. There's very rarely a waiting time on it. And they will help you with pretty much anything. It doesn't even have to be hosting related. It could just be a WordPress question. It could be related to a plugin or a theme. They will roll their sleeves up and they will try and help you out. Now, the one caveat with that is that WP Engine are expensive. They're a lot more expensive than the shared hosting companies. So you've got to really need some support to justify the money because, as I said, they weren't the fastest in my tests, and the support is really the only thing they've got going for them. So if you need someone to hold your hand and you want that kind of WordPress expert available 24/7 on live chat, then yeah, WP Engine might be a good choice for you. But they are really expensive, and the support that you get from the other guys is good too. But anyway, I'm going to give the award for best support to WP Engine. The runner-up in the best support category is, can you guess? Yeah, it's SiteGround. Yeah, again, for the money, the support from SiteGround was excellent. And, when I couple that with their performance and the features, yeah, it's a no-brainer. SiteGround, they're the winner of the award for best support from a WordPress hosting company. So yeah, overall then, SiteGround are the winner. You can't go far wrong with them. They offer fantastic performance speeds, loads of features, great support, and they're really good value for money. If it's support that you need and you want that person to hold your hand with pretty much anything to do with WordPress, then WP Engine might be a good choice for you. But you are going to need quite a lot of money in order to pay for that service because they are a lot more expensive than everyone else. Now, before we go on to the VPS and a little bit more about WP Engine, let me just mention a couple of hosting companies that I think are best avoided, and I'm, drawing on past experience when I say this. And those two companies are, number one is GoDaddy. Now, I use GoDaddy a lot for domain names, and I find them really good for domain names. I've got loads registered with them, and it's always worked fine. However, their hosting is pretty bad. And, as I say, I'm talking from experience. I have had GoDaddy hosting in the past. It's slow. Their support isn't very helpful, stuff doesn't work on it, it's just a nightmare. So avoid GoDaddy hosting, but yeah, they're fine for domains. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say I'd recommend them for domains because it's really easy, they're good prices, and you've got a good domain control panel. The second company that I would avoid is iPage. They're just so slow, really slow. The technical support isn't too bad, but the performance from iPage is terrible. So yeah, iPage, another one to avoid. So let's just talk about the other companies very quickly that I did test out. I'm not going to go into all the details about each one, but basically they weren't as fast and they weren't as good as the companies that I've given the awards to. And those companies were HostGator, Bluehost, DreamHost, and MDD Hosting. You can find, as I say, full details about these companies over on the blog post. But yeah, basically, they didn't do very well in the performance tests. When it comes to support, they were all pretty much the same. They did all reply to my questions within a reasonable time frame and were fairly helpful. And in terms of the features and things that you get, again, it's all very similar. And there's a few dollars here and there on the pricing. One thing I will say about those companies, one in particular, and that's HostGator. If you're a regular on my channel, you'll know that I generally recommend HostGator. And yeah, I did that in good faith. I've got a number of sites with HostGator and I've found them to be okay. But doing this test has really opened my eyes. So now going forward, the host that I'm going to be recommending within my tutorials will of course be SiteGround. So let me talk about WP Engine. They basically offer this managed WordPress hosting service, and I've been using it for quite some time. I thought it was really good until I started running these tests. I thought, it was fast and you got great support, which it is. But when I ran these tests on other companies, I found companies like SiteGround and A2 Hosting were outperforming them, and by quite some margin. So I'm now in the process of moving my websites away from WP Engine. I honestly just don't think they're worth the prices that they're asking for. And they are high. It's like $25 a month or something for one site, which, as I say, is way more than the other companies. So deep down, if I'm honest, if you don't need the support, then there is no reason to go for WP Engine. I'm sorry, WP Engine, I do really love you in terms of your support, but yeah, you're just too expensive. What I'm going to end on now is the VPS setup that I was running. What a VPS is, VPS actually stands for Virtual Private Server. It's like having your own server. So rather than with the shared guys, you're kind of on a server with loads of other customers. With a VPS, it's all yours. Now this does have a few drawbacks. You kind of need to know what you're doing with servers. It hasn't got the nice interface that you get with the shared hosting. You need to know what you're doing. And you need to be able to kind of run backups and all the maintenance and support and stuff that goes with servers. So it's not for everybody. The benefits of using a VPS are mainly performance. They're generally a lot faster than shared hosting because, as I say, you've got the server all to yourself and you haven't got other people's websites using resources. Now, I was kindly given a couple of VPS setups to test out. They were given to me by a company called Spiderweb, that's sort of offering a bit of a hybrid solution when it comes to VPS. What they're offering is a kind of managed service, so they'll take care of running the VPS for you, and then they are breaking it down and selling sections of it to individual customers. Now, the difference between this and a shared setup, I know it sounds quite similar, is that they're going to limit the number of customers on a server to around 30 or so. So whereas shared hosting companies, especially some of the big ones, they stick thousands of sites on a server. With these guys, there's only going to be a few of you on each server, so therefore you're not going to compromise on any performance. They're also going to be there to help you and get stuff set up and all that kind of stuff. So it really is a good solution. You'll find details and pricing on their service over on the blog post, which again you'll find a link in the description. So yeah, be sure to check them out and just let them know your requirements and they'll give you a quote. Now, it is a bit more expensive than the shared hosting, as you'd imagine. But what you get for that money is super fast performance. So I tested the two servers they offered me. They had one that was powered by Amazon. They had another one that was powered by one-on-one. So yeah, by the way, they're not actually using their own servers. They're taking on the servers from other big companies, which is fine. And yeah, in the tests, the Amazon powered one did outperform everything else. It was the fastest server on the block, and that was before it even kind of been optimized and on all that kind of stuff. So you could probably get it going even faster. So yeah, if you want the fastest service possible, then a VPS could be for you. Anyway, that brings the end of this video. Hope you found that useful and you're now confident in choosing a WordPress hosting company for your needs, be sure to check out the blog post over on wpeagle.com for all the details around my testing and all the results and all that kind of stuff. Love to hear who you've been using for your hosting and how good or bad they are. Do leave a comment below and I'll do my best to read and reply to as many as I possibly can. If you fancy watching something else, I'll put another video up on the screen now. And remember to subscribe by clicking on the eagle, and you can check out my other channel, it's a vlog channel, by clicking on my face up there. But until next time, bye for now.